Hello everyone, hope you're all well, and thanks so much for all the support with my videos. I'm very appreciative. Please like, share and comment, and subscribe to my YouTube channel also as well. Today I'm at the Royal Hospital in Kilmainham. Beautiful clock tower that dates back to the 17th century. This was built, and these are part of the formal gardens here as well. Beautiful heritage site here in Dublin. There was a Christian settlement back from the 7th century on the site here, so it's well worth visiting, not far from the centre of Dublin City. Today I want to speak about Keir Starmer. Now, Keir Starmer is the latest British Prime Minister following the snap election called by Rishi Sunak. 58th Prime Minister. He's Tony Blair Mark II, very much on the neoliberal wing, very much on the globalist wing, very much on the militarist wing, and very much on the side of the WEF as well. Last night was a stunning defeat for the Tories, and it's a good day when the Tories are getting hammered in elections, but unfortunately it didn't pan out too well when you replace them with Keir Starmer. They lost 250 seats last night. It's their worst performance in 100 years. 12 ministers lost their seats. Jacob Rees-Mogg, no loss. Liz Truss, no loss. And Grant Shapps, Defence Minister, funding the war in Ukraine, no loss either. Now, Labour increased their seats by 219, 220 up to 412, so they'll have an overall majority, and they only got that with 35% of the vote, and that's with the first past the post system. It's actually less of a vote than what Corbyn got in both 2017 and 2019. So Corbyn was deposed because he was too radical. He was pushing better public services for people, and it was too radical for the establishment. And of course they went on a witch hunt after him, and he was deposed as leader and replaced with the Blairites Mark II, and no better man than Keir Starmer to head them up. Reform as well took a huge amount of votes from the Tories. The Tories probably would have won, conservative estimates would have been about 2/3 of their seats, of the 430 odd seats they had, if it wasn't for the running of Reform and Nigel Farage, and they ended up with 4 seats with about perhaps 12-13%, probably more of the vote. And similarly, the Liberal Democrats went to a record amount of seats, 71 seats, with a similar amount of votes to what Reform achieved. Crazy how the system works, but much the same in Ireland, because we haven't had an overall majority government, I think, since the mid-70s. It's been a lot of these governments work in a proportional representation system or electoral system. So we've seen many politicians being elected on the 16 count. I think Simon Harris for Varadkar was a 9 or 10 count. And many of these rely on the proportional representation system to keep benefiting them. So the transfer system benefits the established parties. But first past the post is particularly not the best when you consider what happens last night in terms of the percentage of the vote. And as I said, Keir Starmer, who's very much on the warmongering side and pushing the war in Ukraine as well. But a few takeouts from the vote last night. Obviously it was an anti-Tory vote, anti-Conservative vote. People were sick of the 14 years of a Tory government and Tory austerity. Famously, David Cameron brought in the big society, and since when he became Prime Minister, there was, at that stage, I think there was 45 food banks in Britain. Now there's over 3,000 food banks. More and more people are struggling with poverty. The issues are just outrageous in terms of the NHS lists, waiting lists in England as well, and not to mention the energy and cost of living crisis facing more and more ordinary people. Now as well, Reform would have taken a huge amount of votes from the Tories as well. Rishi Sunak, who went up to Buckingham Palace with a tail between his legs. And of course it was Starmer with his own low approval ratings himself. He's very low approval ratings in Britain. And again, it was really a vote for change. It was actually just a vote for the lesser of two evils, essentially, by a lot of people. And it's an underwhelming victory, despite what the media are trying to portray it as being a landslide, comprehensive, seminal moment, resounding victory, and all this nonsense that they're trying to portray. Because that's how the media operates. They'll push this narrative to say this is a huge landmark moment, it's a huge change and turning point in British society when they're going to continue the same neoliberal policies that are going to destroy more and more communities. And the interesting thing with this as well is the fact that the energy price crisis is causing huge issues for people across Britain. A quarter of children are in absolute poverty in Britain also, and homelessness is up through the roof as well, up 16% I think on 2022. The figures there forcing more people onto the streets. It's absolutely just insane. Similar issues with evictions happening there as well, similar to what's happening in Ireland. And of course the NHS, as I said, is creating huge issues for people as well on waiting lists and waiting basic health treatment as well. But a more serious point on this would be, a sinister point more so, would be the drive towards more war. And Starmer is fully behind the war machine, fully behind the push for war in Ukraine. He recently met with von der Leyen as European Commission President, and very much a yes man for the elites, for the City of London, for the financial elites, for the super rich, for the 1%. And despite what he's trying to portray, I don't know if he's going to be the man to deliver it. As I said, we've seen the impacts of the Tony Blair crisis on the people in Britain in terms of austerity, and not to mention the push now will be with Starmer to looking for economic stability and to cut NHS waiting times, talking about security, border issues as well with immigration chaos, and also moving towards creating this great British energy company. But again, in a speech outside Downing Street today, he didn't speak in any specifics, spoke in total general terms about national renewal actions and a bigger reset, whatever that means. Maybe he's learned that from WEF jargon, rebuild Britain. And he said the world is a volatile place and the four nations have to stand together. Isn't that interesting? So let's see how this happens, or how it develops over the next period of time. Don't wait for much hope with Keir Starmer. But of course, Sunak, when he was leaving, said it was a very unstable world. It was quite the same speech that Sunak gave outside. So you could have just flipped them around, and it was really just a passing of the baton, passing of the torch, really more so than any fundamental shift in British society for the ordinary working class people who suffer as well. But the reaction in Ireland too was remarkable, because it was like they all read from the same script. Harris spoke today and said that this was a great reset for British-Irish, Anglo-Irish relations. And he also spoke about the fact that they should get institutions back up and running in terms of the infrastructure that's already there should be used to provide and have more meetings. And of course he was eulogising about Keir Starmer, similar to Micheál Martin again. But what would you expect from these people? And even up north with the election results, Sinn Féin came back with 7 MPs rather. And DUP had, I think, 4 or 5, lost a number of seats. Ian Paisley was the most notable scalp up in North Antrim, who lost to a hardliner, TUV, Jim Allister, ex-worker actually with Ian Paisley's dad, for Ian Paisley Senior for many years. That was in the Paisley family for over 54 years, that seat. So talk about the career politicians and the dynasty family politicians continues as well. But of course the DUP will all unite around the issues of not pushing for any sort of border poll going forward as well. But these are all issues that are going to develop over the next period of time. Sinn Féin seems to have forgotten about their whole failures down here in terms of local elections and the MEP European elections down here as well. And they're going to be pushing this narrative for change. So watch this over the next period of time. I guarantee it's going to be the Sinn Féin narrative, which it has been for a number of years, to push this change, to vote them out rather than vote somebody in for the policies that they stand up for, to really put it up to the super rich, put it up to the City of London that Starmer won't be putting it up to, and put it up to the super rich and the globalists, and put it up against the warmongers and against the migration pacts and all this sort of nonsense as well that they're trying to push through, not to mention all these other draconian restrictions on people's basic rights to speak, such as the hate speech legislation as well. This is what's really going on, so watch out for it. I'm sure the narrative is going to be pushed relentlessly by the mainstream media here in Ireland too about perhaps the vote for change and what change means and this nonsense, and they'll discard all the facts behind what's going on in terms of the votes that Corbyn, for instance, picked up in 2017, 2019, and it was a coup that led to the removal of him and replaced by Keir Starmer, a complete neoliberal Zionist man for the 1%,
and a yes man for the war in Ukraine. I don't think too much peace will be coming out of his mouth. And it's ironic that he was named after the leader of the Labour, first founder of the Labour Party, Keir Hardie, who stood up as a miner himself, organised the miners, organised many strike actions as well, and was a fantastic anti-war and pacifist activist, and stood with as well with the suffrage movement as well, for the women's right to vote as well. So they're a million miles away from the foundations of that Labour Party in England today, much the same as the Labour Party here in Ireland. They're a billion miles away from the party of James Connolly, who was executed not too far away up in that direction out towards Kilmainham Jail back on the 12th of May in 1916. They're not principled, they don't stand up for the interests of working class people. You need a really grassroots movement that's led by people to put it up to the super rich, the wealthy, the globalists, to put the interests of working class people first and be principled in that continued struggle. And that comes from below. That's where change really fundamentally happens, from below. So thanks for all the support on my videos, really appreciate it. Thanks for the likes, shares, comments. Please press subscribe to my YouTube channel, and please keep sharing my videos as well. So from Kilmainham today, let's just take a shot at the clock tower there. Thanks for all your support, and I'll see you all soon. Take care. Bye bye. Salam.